Hello, we're at the International Payment Summit 2013 in London, and with me is Jorg Bermuller from Merck, from the corporate treasurer side of the equation. So you were speaking in a session this morning about the challenges facing corporate treasurers. What's the main thing that you...
Oh, the main topics. I see two. One is regulation. Regulation on two sides, on the banking side, which makes it harder for banks, and on the corporate side, just thinking of EMIR, of Dodd-Frank, of regulations like SEPA. And with all this regulation, there's a big challenge of the IT support. It has to be automated, it has to be straight through processes, and so many regulations at the same time to handle through different systems beside the daily work. This is a really big challenge.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that SEPA has been one of the themes of IPS for as long as I remember, which is only half of the 20 years that the show's been going. And now we're very rapidly approaching the deadline. The banks are more or less there, and it's on to the corporate side. There's lots of studies that show that corporates aren't particularly prepared for SEPA in February next year.
They are about to start. What I hear from the market, nearly few companies are ready, SEPA ready. Why is it so? There have been many uncertainties about the regulations. If I think of direct debit, there are still no common rules throughout Europe, and this makes it very hard to adjust your systems and still to be flexible. If I would have programmed it 3 years ago, I could do it now again differently. So it's not about big and IBAN, this you can manage. It's more really about direct debit and HR payments, truly local payments, which is a headache for centralized multinationals which have a payment hub.
Yeah, and for multinationals like yourselves, the issues are around integrating with your ERP systems and your
exactly
HR and everything else, rather than just with your banking system.
Exactly, it's more inward. It's not with the banks, it's really how to generate the data in the right format. And for sure, if you deal with different banks and they require sometimes different formats, then it gets a nightmare again, because we only generate one file and it has to fit for all banks and to have it straight through again.
But presumably once all this is done, and in 2 years, whatever, 3 years, then there are great opportunities and great efficiencies that you'll see.
No.
No?
Oh, no, not at all, because we will not benefit. We already have a totally integrated payment factory. So if I have a big IBAN, okay, but if I have an account number in Bankleitzahl in Germany, for me it's the same, and then the payment goes through. So I have no improvement, and the terms on payments I negotiate with the bank, and lucky we have power to negotiate proper with banks. Therefore, I have no real advantage of SEPA in my corporate.
That's a very interesting thing. You've spent quite some time dealing with it. You've spent money on integrating the system, but to know
no benefit, not 1 cent cheaper. No, not even a better process somehow.
I think that's something we've heard on the banking side quite a few times. But looking beyond that, in terms of integrating your systems, that was already part of your business process anyway, presumably.
Yes, it was already 5 years ago, because there are economies of skills, of scale, and of knowledge, because in our headquarters we have the knowledge of former bankers, how to operate these things, and you can't maintain such knowledge in depth for treasury in all your local subsidiaries. It's too costly, and you can't have specialists for a few payments in some countries. Therefore, we have the think tank in the headquarters, and then we execute it centrally.
Do you think that the lead up to SEPA, the implementation process, the discussions we've been having at events like this for years, has changed the relationship between corporates and their banks?
No, not at all. They just both sides know you have a project, we have a project, and then we exchange on a friendly relationship. What can the bank do? How can they help us? What do they see? What other corporates do? What XML file? And we really, it's an open exchange. And if it comes to direct debit again, what is the first direct debit? What is the last direct debit? I never know when the last is with my customer. I hope I have a next one. So these things we exchange with banks. How do they see it?
So away from the SEPA area, where would you like to see other changes in terms of things like, presumably reconciliation you're talking about?
Yes, it's again about standardization also on bank side, on banking platforms. As we operate truly global, we are in more countries than, or different countries than the banks. So what do I require? I require the same IT platform in Asia, like in Latin America, like in North America, because then my treasury operations team only has to concentrate on one format, on one platform, one login. These are simple things, like like logins. Why do I have to log in in Asia with a different password than in Latin America, and so on? And these are minor things which really add up if you run it for 250 entities.
Yeah. So simplification,
standardization. The same is for bureaucracy, and what I meant in the panel in terms of contracts. I have only time to read one contract, and this proper for sure, but not for certain regions, special things, one signature list, one power of attorney list, and so on. One standardized ISTA or Deutscher Rahmenvertrag agreement, and no special thing for bank A, B or C.
Right. So almost a utility approach would be.
Yeah. Plug and play.
Okay, well, thank you very much.